Hello everybody, we're back with another video on the 14th book of the Wings of Fire. This is The Dangerous Gift, and the author of the series is Sutherland. They're really good books, you should try and check them out.
Yep. I guess before, this is going to be a non-spoiler, and before we really get started, thank you for those who watch our videos. We appreciate it, watching us ramble on. And
for those 100 people who are watching The Lost Heir, or if you haven't seen our Lost Heir video, go check it out because it's really popular for some reason.
It's a really bad video, so don't check it out.
It has over 100 views.
Doesn't mean it's good. So anyways, we're going to talk about The Dangerous Gift and try and make this non-spoilers, and let's talk about a lot of the themes that Sutherland puts in this. And one of the major themes we've decided was fear.
Paranoia!
Yeah, well, both are the same.
Paranoia is much more
so fear really drives
specific.
Fear really drives Snowfall in this
First of all, we should start at the very beginning. Snowfall is the main character of this book.
Yes.
And this is the follow-up of the book 13, the Poison Jungle.
Yeah.
Where the dragons just try to escape the evil plant known as the Breath of Evil, which is... I'm really surprised to notice that there's a plant antagonist, but you know, that's fine.
Yeah.
I was really surprised, but... So, now we're getting on to... So basically she was chosen to be queen from her mother, and in book 10, when her mom died.
Right.
And so those events kind of play into this book.
Yep, and we see at the beginning of this book, she really wasn't ready to take the mantle of a queen. She wasn't even thinking about becoming queen until years down the line. If you know the whole hierarchy of these dragons, is that the daughter will eventually challenges the mother to be queen, and then they gotta fight to the death, and
which I find kind of silly because it's like, oh hi mama, time to murder you.
Right. So in the recent books, though, we've kind of seen this tradition break, because even in this one, when we see that this wasn't going to be a issue in the future.
Yeah, like I mean, I think in book 8, when oh yeah, first warning. There are going to be spoilers of other books, just not this one.
Yep.
So,
the first example we see is in book 4 with Glory, because Glory's ancestor is the actual queen, and they don't fight. Book 3, right? And they don't fight to the death. So the first one, the break of it is in book 3.
Yeah, but in book 8, it's kind of brought back around when Ruby kills her mother, Scarlet.
Mm-hmm.
And like
that was a necessary death because Scarlet was just terrible.
It was a very necessary death, because if you let... Scarlet just couldn't seem to be okay with just like, whatever, I'll just do whatever the heck I want.
So let's get back to this book and the paranoia. So she is like...
very paranoid.
Yep. And one of her biggest paranoias is dragons from other kingdoms.
She has very bad xenophobia. And xenophobia in the sense of... She's terrified of other tribes. She's so constantly worried that other tribes are going to try and find a way around their ice wall and kill her whole tribe. And so she's not bitter towards them. She's just really, really scared.
Yeah, she's paranoid. And I mean, it does make sense that her whole life she's been in a war, and then they've always been scared of the Nightwings.
And not scared. They just hate the Nightwings.
Well, and scared. And then in Darkstalker, when he came back...
They're scared of Darkstalker, not Nightwings.
Yeah, and then when Darkstalker came back and then and put that disease on all of her people, and they had all her dragons.
And killed her mother.
And killed her mother, people. So it kind of reinforced the idea that you can't trust dragons from outside of her own kingdom.
And then, like, her whole tribe's, like, wanting her to send dragons to, like, Jade Mountain Academy, or... to like connect with the other tribes, queens, and
and she's constantly getting letters from the other queen dragons.
Glory, Ruby, Coral,
she ignores them all.
She just hates all of them.
Yeah,
she's just like, I'm just gonna send you back letters to tell you to shut up because I don't care.
Right. So we see in this book how fear really motivates her, drives her to make decisions. Sometimes some of the decisions are rational, and some of them are irrational.
For most of the book, she's basically the wild animal that you trapped in a corner.
Yeah.
She's probably feeling really... probably feels like claustrophobic with all the tribes around her area. And she's just
Right.
and
And
then
then,
yeah.
so this does have a real clear like beginning. Like she has this fear, and then as this fear, and she's forced to interact with dragons from different cultures and stuff.
Yeah.
You can really see
Her
how
character
this
arc-
affects her character.
Her
in the
character
end.
arc is amazing.
Yeah.
It's really well played, and she's like she's very she's also not very well liked by other
Right.
not Ice Wings because she's
Yeah.
really snippy with them, and she doesn't sleep much, so she's usually really
Right.
cranky.
Yeah. And
And
yeah. So yeah.
They're
So
always avoiding her, so she hates doing the wall because she doesn't know anything about any of the other dragons because nobody ever talks to her or
Right.
ever sees anyone.
and her second fear is she wants to be a great queen, and her second fear is that her attitude and how she interacts people, like if she's gonna be able to be, she wants to be the best queen, best queen ever, and she's feared that she won't be able to do this, and so she's always second guessing
She's-
her own choices a lot of the times.
She's basically put the weight of 3 school buses on top of her.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know how to take them off, even though she could just step aside. That's like, because she's so focused on. With the Ice Wings, they're aristocratic, so they're always like, gotta get to the top.
Yeah.
And so she takes that in like really hardcore. She's
Yeah.
always trying to be
Yeah.
the best she can be, all like constantly, and it's just like you
Yeah.
shouldn't do that.
Right. I mean, you see that hatred is actually, I guess, is a little bit of a spoiler here. The hatred of the wall, of the making the list, is kind of what drives her away
Yeah.
to go, like, to escape. It's like, well, I'll go away
I
and
can
help
deal
these
without
other
the
dragons.
wall,
Yeah.
and it's just like,
She's like, oh, if
I
I
have
do
to go
this,
here, I don't have to deal with the wall
yeah,
anymore.
if I do this, it's another 2 days I don't have to deal with the wall.
Yeah, and she's like, and
Yep.
she's also really scared of her sister Crystal coming trying to kill her.
Yep.
Because after
That's
their
a minor
mother-
spoiler.
Yeah, after their, I mean, it's a pretty big thing. It starts at like the beginning of the book, so
Yeah,
She's
and
like-
they're just spoiling it.
it's not spoiling. But basic like, you can
Right.
find out why.
Yep.
But she's scared of that too. She's scared of all kinds of things.
Yep. And then another theme in this is immigration, I guess. And this is the part where, like, all these dragons from a different continent, probably thousands, I would guess.
Lots.
At least hundreds.
All trying to escape.
Yep. And they all land on her, in her kingdom. And she's already got xenophobia. But another thing, she's like, there's no way I could take care of
all these
these
dragons.
And she's like, and,
She's also terrified of them too. She's
yeah.
just like, is this an army or?
yeah, so she's like, yeah, so she's scared they're going to try to conquer her, and she's like, no, you guys have to leave right away, and you know, and you got a little minor spoiler, like a little interaction between her and Tsunami, and then
I know what she thinks. Of.
yeah, so like, so she's like, but she's not really nice about it. She's like, you guys can't stay here. And then what's kind of gratifying for her is when they go to another area, and all the other dragons are like, "How we can't take care of all these dragons either."
Yeah, we
And
we can't do this.
And she's like, "See,
I have a logical conclusion."
Yeah.
And it's someone looked at that particular dragon in a funny way, and he's just like, "That's not what I meant."
Yeah. So, right. So
I
like
meant
all the
we
good
don't-
dragons are now like all
We're
the
just
good
like-
dragons are we picture that are good or you know
They're like,
well
they're like, we don't have enough room to house all these dragons. There's so many. Like,
Right.
we would accept them if we had more room, but we
Right.
don't.
Yep. And
We're
then,
at our limit.
and then for Snowfall, she's kind of another fear factor is when people suggest to go to the rainforest of Glory. She's like, oh my gosh, now Glory will have 4 tribes, and she'll be like the most powerful dragon in the area, in the continent. And then she starts to get freaked out about that.
Glory's never done anything except in retaliation.
Yeah. So that's kind of, and that kind of applies in art, like with migrants, when you have like a big flex of migrants, is how does the people whose countries they're going into, how do they really take care of this huge influx of migrants? And that's kind of like a little bit touched on here with her. But her
Yeah.
reaction is not really,
It's logical,
It's not
but
really-
mean.
yeah, it's not like her original action isn't what's best for these dragons coming into her kingdom.
What's best
like
for her
what-
kingdom.
Yeah, with her kingdom, like, and her dislike of foreign dragons.
Yeah, It's not like her. It's not really like a dislike. It's more like just a
fear.
She's
right.
terrified. Not. She doesn't hate other dragons. She just is scared of
Right.
them.
And then, so another thing we touch upon, and this is more like the later in. Well, it's kind of at the beginning and at the end of the book. It's kind of like traditions that traditions of a country, or in her case, a kingdom. So we talked about the tradition of the wall, where you put for the aristocrats, they challenge each other for what rank they are.
Yeah.
She doesn't like that. And then we have the tradition of the other.
Doesn't like dealing with it.
Yeah. And then you have the other tradition of the Great Wall that they have. That if you know anything,
ice wall that will kill you if you're not an ice wing.
Right. So if you know about the storyline by this time, you probably should. Of that kind of tradition of keeping foreign dragons out of your own kingdom.
Because at the time it was like, because at the time it was made because all the other dragons were at each other's throats, and it's just like, well, boom, wall, try and get us now.
Right. So it kind of, I don't know about you, but you think it's kind of touching apart. There's some traditions that we need to look at and say this tradition is bad for our continent. There's some traditions that are not good, and there's some traditions that are good that you should keep.
Like someone may have like a tradition that they really like, but then other people would look at it and just be like, why though? That's just useless waste of time.
Right. So yeah, so I think this book, it covers a lot of issues. It's really good.
No offense to all those who like having weird traditions. You can do whatever you want. I'm just saying, like, if you were to go and unlock your door and then lock your door every single morning, then for no reason at all, that'd be kind of pointless.
Well, there's healthy traditions and there's non-healthy traditions.
Yeah.
So let's talk about her character. We probably, I don't know. I think her character is really good.
Yeah.
Developed, like you said, she has a huge character arc.
Yeah, it's not a long book. I mean, it's a long book, but
you can get it read in about 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, it could be read pretty quickly, but you could. But like the character arc in there is worth like it's worth like maybe 11 hours of reading. Like,
it's clearly defined in this book. She's this kind of dragon at the beginning, and you can see that she's a different kind of dragon at the end.
Yeah, and you can see the process. It's not just like poof. It's you can literally just see it, and it's not a fast transition either. It's actually it's rather slow transition. It feels like a pretty slow transition. So
yeah,
like it's
so
really
she's a character that's worth reading about. So let's talk about some of the negatives here at the end. With all these books, I kind of feel like there are areas that are rushed, and there's areas that are expanded on like a little too much. Like there's a part where we see humans, and I would like to saw like the interaction between the humans and the dragons a little bit more. And that was kind of just like a paragraph kind of thing, like
a few pages worth.
Yeah, and then at the end we get like a full 5 or 8 pages of like a history of another dragon, and which I guess is okay, but it's like I don't know. I could have been a little shorter, and the human section could have been a little longer for me.
Because I think definitely the humans would have been much more entertaining. Like I was definitely really curious about that particular dragon we learned about, but still it was like,
right.
Yeah, we could have done that, right?
Right. Yeah, I kind of feel like you could add 2 more pages with the human part, and then cut 2 pages from the other dragon part, and we would still get the feeling of what the other dragon went through.
But like, it's like one of those things where like you could imagine it, but if you read it, you can't imagine it because it's like, well, it's already done. You've already read it, and then it's like really hard to imagine what this certain thing would be like if it was cut like 2 pages short. So like, it's hard for me to imagine how that would end up being like. But like, still, I probably would have liked having a little bit more human interactions.
Yeah. And then, so we're gonna make another spoiler video of that. But we figured we'd do this one, and we'll wait a little longer before we put out the second one, because we've noticed that if we do a bunch of videos on one book, you guys don't watch. You guys will watch the first one, but then you won't touch the second one.
You won't touch all of our hard work. It makes me cry.
Right. All right. You got anything else you'd like to say about this book?
Nope. But I do have something to say.
What's that?
If you haven't already...
Oh, not yet.
What?
We gotta do our recommendation. We gotta do our grade. Do you recommend it? Not recommend it? Recommend it with caution.
How could you do this to me? I look like a fool. Recommend.
I recommend it too. I think, especially if you're a fan of the series, you're gonna love this.
It's a good book.
Yep. Okay, now you can say what you're
Okay, so if you haven't already, hit that bell and like, subscribe, and make sure to follow us on our videos or whatever channel this guy has on Twitter or something.
I'm not on Twitter.
What do you have? Facebook?
We're just on YouTube.
All right. So just keep in track with us if you want to, and if you leave thumbs up, if you leave a thumbs down, please tell us why so we can help fix the content for better views and not better views, but for better content. So, and everybody have a nice day.
Yep. Adios.